Communist, says the mayor. Mayor, communist.
A Muslim socialist from the Democratic Party won the election in New York, which is considered the center of world capitalism. How is that even possible? The Democratic Party candidate, Zohran Mamdani, won the New York mayoral election and, at 34 years old, will become the first Muslim head of the largest city in the United States. His triumph is an important victory for the progressive wing of the Democrats amid disputes within the party over strategies to counter President Donald Trump, who threatened with hostility. To block federal funds for the city if Mamdani is elected to the position, this gives hope that not everything is lost in the Democratic Party yet. On the other hand, Republicans are clearly not thrilled about Mamdani. For example, Trump stated that Mamdani is an Islamist who won only because Trump himself was not on the ballot and also because of the shutdown. The Jewish community of New York is also raising concerns, stating that Mamdani and his supporters will promote so-called political Islamism in the United States. They say that now Mamdani and his team will take over major institutions in New York and under the guise of social welfare and human rights will actually recruit people against Israel. But regardless, the Democrats in the United States scored a number of victories in the elections on Tuesday, November 4, in the first major electoral race in the United States after Republican Donald Trump became president again. This gave the weakened Democratic Party momentum ahead of next year's congressional elections. And it also showed how the residents of the largest city in the United States responded to the first 9 months of Donald Trump's presidency. Well, let's break it down together in this episode. Who is Zohran Mamdani and how is this connected to the slow revival of the Democratic Party in the United States? And why is he still a rather controversial figure? My name is Pechiy. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and leave any detailed comment below. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechiy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There, we publish breaking news as it comes in. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation or a paid sponsorship subscription. You can do this using the links and details in the description of this video. It says there, support the Pechiy channel. Use any convenient format. I appreciate any support you provide.
Take the issue of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously.
And Mamdani, or whatever the hell his name is, in New York, no.
So, the Democratic Party candidate Zohran Mamdani won the New York mayoral election. At 34, he will become the first Muslim head of the largest city in the United States. Mamdani defeated former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for the second time, crushing his hopes of returning to big politics after losing to Mamdani in the June Democratic Party primaries. Republican Curtis Slayeva also participated in the general election, refusing to end his campaign despite pressure from Cuomo and his supporters. He ended up with just over 7% of the votes. It should be noted that the election results are likely to have an impact far beyond New York, boosting Mamdani's authority and the popularity of his platform, including a proposal to freeze rent for New Yorkers, make public bus rides free, and provide universal pre-kindergarten. As a result, by opposing the late Cuomo, the tax bill for wealthy New Yorkers will make Mamdani not only a socialist, but also someone who won thanks in part to populist promises to voters. They say let the rich pay for the poor now, but who is Mamdani? Zohran Mamdani is a 3-time elected member of the New York State Legislative Assembly. In the election race, he was considered an underdog. Many predicted an easy victory for his opponent Cuomo, but then everything suddenly changed. Mamdani was born in Uganda, grew up in Cape Town, and moved to New York when he was 7 years old. He graduated from the prestigious Bronx High School of Science and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Bowdoin College. His parents are Columbia University professor Mahmoud Mamdani and Indian film director Meera Nair. Before becoming a member of the Assembly, Mamdani was a tenant rights advocate and performed music under the stage name Mr. Cardamom. This is precisely what Mamdani's critics highlighted in their criticism, saying, Mamdani steadily rose in the rankings of candidates for mayor, constantly posting videos on social media, in particular interviews with voters who supported Donald Trump in 2024. Because of the high cost of living, he recorded videos for different audiences and addressed voters in several languages, including Urdu, Bengali, Spanish, and Arabic. Overall, it must be acknowledged that although the election campaign was very populist, it still worked. One of his videos, which went viral, was dedicated to a topic the politician called halal inflation. He decided to interview street meat vendors about the high cost of running a street food business in New York, and there he was, surrounded by rice and meat. Mamdani explained in detail how bureaucratic barriers in the city are partly to blame for the high prices. And by June, when the primaries took place, Mamdani had closed the gap with Cuomo in the polls. His rising popularity worried businessmen and real estate representatives who supported Cuomo and invested millions of dollars against his opponent. They claimed that Mamdani's policies would drive wealthy residents and companies away from working in the financial capital of the United States, saying that New York would just become a city of the poor and that he was making empty promises. But this is important too. It was exactly this kind of opposition that allowed Mamdani to build his campaign on the contrast between the working class and billionaires, between the poor and the rich. Mamdani says everything is for the middle class and poor, with higher taxes on the rich. And also, Mamdani himself has kind of moved away from the idea he once promoted, cutting police funding. For many years, he criticized law enforcement about police funding, but suddenly he stated, "I'm not running to cut police funding." And lo and behold, the police took his side. Mamdani once said he wouldn't mind decriminalizing prostitution, for example. In the end, Mamdani called the vote a choice between oligarchy and democracy. But on election day, Mamdani decided to finally show that he was truly with the people, with all the people, from all walks of life. When more than 500,000 New Yorkers went to vote early, Mamdani was everywhere. In the morning, he went to church with his parents, attended the service. At noon, he spoke on the radio, stopped by supermarkets in the suburbs, appeared on influencers' live streams, took part in a freestyle rap battle, and ended Saturday by going to nightclubs around the city. The city never sleeps, and neither does he. He feels completely in sync with it, and it worked. Mamdani will take office on January 1, and in 2026 he will become the first Muslim mayor of New York and the first South Asian to hold this position, as well as one of the youngest mayors in modern times. By the way, he recently married an artist of Syrian descent, Ramma Duvaji, which was also used against him by his opponents. She is only 28 years old, and she will become the first representative of Generation Z to serve as First Lady of New York, so she's just 28 and he's 34. But there are questions about Mamdani from the Jews of New York. For example, the Jewish community of New York calls Mamdani a supporter of Hamas. It's important to remember that New York is home to the largest Jewish community in the world outside of Israel. That's over 1 million people. And here, without further ado, I'll quote the Israeli Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Amichai Shikli. The quote, Mamdani, like his mentor, Linda Sarsour, represents the Red-Green Alliance, a dangerous strategic partnership between radical Islamism and the far-left progressive movement. They are united by their hatred of the very idea of freedom and a pathological hatred of the Jewish people and the State of Israel. This alliance seeks to introduce political Islamism into the United States under the guise of social welfare and human rights. Their goal is to take control of America's cultural, academic, and political institutions, just as they have successfully done in some parts of Western Europe. New York is now one step closer to becoming the next London. This is without a doubt the biggest victory for the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States, and possibly in the entire Western world. But to be fair, it's worth quoting Minister Amichai Shikli again, who said, "As a conservative, I know it's easiest to expose anti-Semitism when it comes from the left. But today the most dangerous wave of growth is coming from within the right. We must make it clear this is not conservatism. True conservatism rejects fanaticism and racism. It stands for truth, faith, and freedom. You cannot call yourself a conservative while admiring Hitler, Stalin, or the theocratic dictator ruling Iran. What does that mean? This is a reference to the scandal when the media got hold of messages from the youth wing of the Republican Party, where young right-wing Make America Great Again supporters openly expressed admiration for Nazism and Hitler personally. But that's another topic, as they say. And for the sake of balance, it's worth noting that Mamdani on the one hand called Israel's actions towards the Palestinians apartheid, and on the other hand condemned Hamas and the October 7, 1923 attack as a horrific war crime. But those weren't all of the Democrats' victories. Among other successes for the Democrats in last Tuesday's elections were the extension of terms for 3 Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices and Californians' support for Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to change the boundaries of electoral districts. Newsom's actions were a response to attempts by Republicans, particularly in Texas and Florida, to redraw district boundaries in their favor. And, as the Financial Times writes today, this should cause serious concern among Republicans. This is a crushing victory for the Democrats, similar to the party's success in 2017, a year after Trump's first victory in the presidential election. That result was a harbinger of the outcome of the 2018 midterm elections in Congress, when the Democrats regained control of the House of Representatives, depriving the Republicans of a majority in both chambers. A similar development can be expected in 2026, especially since the Republicans now have only a 3-seat majority in the House of Representatives. And finally, I'll add the words of Donald Trump. Trump wrote today that there are 2 reasons for the Republicans' defeat. His name wasn't on the ballot. And the shutdown.
Crazy.
Here.
I'll put an ellipsis here. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.